Here we go again. Of all the things the article could open with, the writer chose these words: military service, country and agency pressure, and quote-unquote controversy of BTS being #1 consecutively. As if military service isn't a profound matter in the US, as if BTS aren't the main source of South Korea's prosperity, and as if Hype, aka Big Hit, is a tyrant company that doesn't give BTS a wide berth to do as they please, unlike other companies that shall not be named. Article later goes on about the quote-unquote appearance of BTS down a hallway in Hype's new headquarters, the fact that the song Butter presumably was being sung, song that has quote-unquote controversy around its #1 smash hit, and BTS appearing all wearing masks. See, D'Angelo, BTS do wear masks. There's even proof in everything. Later on, the writer states the fact that BTS and 5 of their management team were dressed down in a, quote, strikingly regular guy wardrobe, end quote, consisting of oversized t-shirts and pants, bare feet in sandals. Because who knew BTS can dress in comfortable clothing, am I right? And then states the fact that BTS were hung over from the night before and were quote-unquote discussing the effects of alcohol on their skin, as if all they do is drink and be hungover, and because apparently it's a very common topic among young people in Korea, as if it was a strange newfound truth of the culture. By the way, men who take care of their skin are true alphas. Come at me. Also, Western kids, teenagers, even young adults, they drink a lot, so there's that. Then the article states each member's name and age and specifies that Jungkook was the one who was singing Butter earlier. And then when they sit down, they give the quote-unquote aura of the veteran pop stars that they are, because they are veterans in their profession. I thought it was obvious. And then it's mentioned how eloquently and politely well-spoken they are, because they are. Then when Suga mentions that even with all this success, they're not exceptional people and that their plate is small, the writer states that these words were said by the group's bookworm, quote-unquote bookworm. Don't know what was the reason for that mention, but okay, I guess they are all bookworms, but whatever. Looks like I'm gonna be picky with this article. And then the writer states that RM, quote-unquote, usually acts as the de facto spokesman leader of the group. Again, as if it's something unusual, since RM is in fact the leader of the group. A little bit of research, would confirm that. Then the writer states how after the huge success of PSI's Gangnam Style, no group was able to reach the level of fame PSI had except for BTS. Okay, fine, I will give the article this 1 point. Then the article talks a little about the start of BTS fame and how they shot to stardom after a long time of hard work and persistence, mentioning how in 2017 they won Top Social Artist in the Billboard Music Awards, breaking Justin Bieber's 6-year winning streak, selling out stadiums around the world the following year, including in the United States, and regularly breaking records. How they got 5 #1 albums on the Billboard 200 since 2018, it being the fastest accumulation by a group since the Beatles in 1966 and 1968. 5 #1 hits on the Hot 100 in under a year, the quickest run of 5 since Michael Jackson in 1987 and 1988. Several music videos garnering over 1 billion views each on YouTube, and it's the first K-pop act to be nominated for a Grammy. I mean, scammy. Earlier this year, winning 4 BBMAs, and the fact that their album Map of the Soul 7 was the world's best-selling last year. And Follow-Up B was ranked 4th despite being released in late November. I'll give the article another good point for this part, I guess. Then the article talks about Hype's upgrade, if you will, and moving to a bigger building, becoming more established in the industry, and BTS, who own shares in Hype, becoming multi-millionaires. All of this was good, right? Like the article could have stayed in that lane, right? Wrong. Here, the article starts to really go downhill, and instead of asking questions related to BTS's music, whether asking about the writing, production, or anything related to the music that they make, the article swivels to a whole different angle that has absolutely no need for. It starts off with mentioning their military service, how, since they are important cultural ambassadors for South Korea, it quote-unquote resulted into an unprecedented move, which was the government changing their military law and delaying the enlisting age from 28 to 30. This is the maximum of enlisting age in South Korea. Since the group's eldest member, Kim Suk-jin, will be 30 by the end of 2022, and the fact that HYBE would take a major hit if one member was missed, or if the whole group decides to enlist at the same time. First of all, it was completely unnecessary to mention the military enlistment or the South Korean government law implementation, as you never know. Maybe you will wake up tomorrow to the news of Jin enlisting, or maybe the government will wait until he's 30. There was no need to quote-unquote drag the government or the military into an article that's supposed to be about the musical career of the #1 most famous K-pop group in history. There was also no need to mention how HYBE would quote-unquote suffer without BTS, because BTS simply will not end for a few more years ahead, even with their hiatus during their military time. HYBE has become one of the top entertainment companies in South Korea, and I believe that the company is able to withstand BTS's hiatus just fine, with having BTS's already thriving career and the success of their other boy group TXT. Let's not forget ENHYPEN. Now, the part of the article that I believe caused the most backlash was the fact that it flat out accused HYBE, BTS, and ARMY of quote-unquote manipulating the chart's numbers of BTS's wins, accusing BTS fandom known as ARMY of organizing themselves on social media using tactics like bulk purchases of physical albums and coordinated digital buying to quote-unquote influence chart performance. And now I'm imagining us gathering around on social media in a pentagram-like circle and conspiring against the charts like some wizard-like hackers, manipulating the charts like a marionette. Not the fact that BTS are massive superstars who produce amazing music, work so hard to release it, and the fact that their music is actually well loved by millions around the world. No, it's us ARMYs, BTS, and HYBE who manipulate the numbers. Give me a break. Doesn't help the fact that the article's quote-unquote source of information was tweets from fans of some competing acts, not the writer doing their own research. No. They chose to take the words of antis and ex-ARMYs on Twitter, of all places. That's some good journalism right there. As a result, BTS and HYBE rejected the accusations, as they should. As a result, BTS and HYBE rejected the accusations of chart manipulation with good reason, as they don't need to manipulate the charts and numbers of awards, unlike some people like Justin Bieber, who was blatantly begging his fans to quote-unquote manipulating the charts by bulk buying his single and album Yummy and literally using a VPN to illegally stream his music. But no, it's fine. We don't see articles talking about that now, do we? Not about Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift or Miley Cyrus, Lady Gaga. No. They are Western prestigious artists. There is no suspicion around them. But when it's BTS, a Korean pop group, oh, foul play. We smell foul play. The next part of the article I really like, as it has Mark Mulligan, music industry analyst at consultancy Media Research, saying that HYBE was, quote, very smart in understanding that the future of music needs to look at the past, that music is what people use to identify themselves, end quote. He adds that the rise of streaming in recent years has loosened the emotional bond between artists and consumers, and that, quote, outside of Korea, in the US and the UK, at a time when BTS was still singing mostly in Korean, there was a whole generation of teenagers who just knew that there was a hole in their musical soul. They knew something was missing, but they didn't know what it was. And then suddenly BTS comes along and they say, this makes sense. I can say who I am through being a fan of this band. And this part hits it on the head. Even though BTS had a massive following by the millions before the pandemic, them singing in English during the pandemic has attracted a huge number of new armies who were drawn in with their preppy English songs, and as a result led to these new fans to perusing BTS's Korean discography and realizing what an amazing group they are and what an impactful effect they have. How they spread the message of loving oneself, accepting oneself as it is, and to just live your life without regrets. In the next part, RM talks about the future and how that despite their current success, they will never know what will happen next or what the future will hold. Then Jin and Jungkook talk about how hard their career has been and how Jungkook reveals the toll it's taken on his health. Then the article once again talks about how the South Korean government puts pressure on BTS and how a quote-unquote Korean act performing songs in the Korean language, breaking records around the world, casually mentioning how South Korea as a country sees itself as a quote-unquote small state, squeezed by superpowers like the US, China, and Russia. Now let me ask you this. What was the reason for mentioning these three countries when speaking about BTS and the Korean government? Why an article that's supposed to ask questions about musical career of the world's #1 Korean pop group instead seems to want to stir up trouble and try to take a political route regarding the group and the country group comes from. And once freaking again, article talks about the South Korean government's military enlistment with how historic it is for the government's new law of exempting K-pop idols from the military service as they did certain athletes, classical musicians, and dancers. How that even though they're not fully exempt of that law, still shows how pivotal to the country's soft power BTS has become. Not once did I see a single question about BTS's process of making their music. Not a single one. And I don't know if it's just me or if this article keeps going around in circles. By once again talking about how HYBE would suffer financially if BTS enlist. Stop going around in circles. And next we are given a beautiful line from Suga where he says that, quote, it's not something that will change even if we talk about it one way or another. We just want to be good to the people who love us. That's what lasts in the long run. Now the next part talks about armies and how we did and still do our hardest to help the boys reach and stay at #1 at all times. Where we have RM saying that, quote, this is a result of a struggle and I don't want to overlook that, end quote. Stating that beside BTS's extreme hard work, they will always have armies at their backs, with them every step of the way. Shincho, head of K-pop and J-pop at Warner Music Group, said that it stems from a particular fan culture in K-pop that pulls out all the stops to ensure whomever they're supporting will get mainstream attention and how fans will do whatever they can to create a success story. You know, like all fandoms wants and does. You know, if you like an artist, you do your best to chart their music. It's not something that's exclusively about BTS. Next up, we have the flat-out insults and accusations of armies quote-unquote exploiting loopholes in music chart rules, buying BTS's songs in bulk, and pushing out artists like Dua Lipa and Olivia Rodrigo from the #1 chart. How BTS song being at #1 for so long is such an impossible, crazed notion that automatically it gives the suspicion of armies cheating and manipulating the charts. Hello? Taylor Swift bought pizza boxes and distributed them. Miley Cyrus did the same with condoms. Artists and their companies have been buying their records for years. Like Elliot from Baby Gang said, go check out his video. It's great and he explains this part a lot better than I do. It's as if BTS's hard work, years of blood, sweat and tears, as if their music that touches the souls of millions of people around the world isn't allowed to be an indication of their success. Billboard did such a good journalistic job, note the sarcasm here, go into Twitter and take in tweets of Lipa and Rodrigo's fans as gospel and accuse ARMY of having quote-unquote fraudulent ways involved in chart manipulation and mass buying. If Billboard really wanted to write a good article about BTS, they could have, I don't know, done their research well. They could have approached it with more subjective eye, but because the writer had a plan to be biased against BTS from the start, the writer decided to post such drivel and take the words of antis and haters as God's truth. And the writer of the article actually had the audacity to ask that question to RM's face without an ounce of shame. RM's fire response was, there is a conversation inside Billboard about what being #1 should represent, then it's up to them to change the rules and make streaming weigh more on the ranking. Blaming us or our fans for getting #1 with physical sales and downloads, I don't know if that's right. It just feels like we're easy targets because we're a boy band, a K-pop act, and we have this high fan loyalty. Yes, Namjoon, preach that shit. It's like Billboard doesn't realize itself, like they made their own rules, and when BTS played by the rules and won, Billboard screamed foul play. Pick a struggle, Billboard. The article keeps pressing the matter by asking HYBE if they organized fans and chart manipulation, where Shin Young-jae, president of Big Head Music, a HYBE subsidiary, answered with a chuckle, sarcastic one I bet, wouldn't it be nice if we actually had the ability to mastermind such a thing? He's so right. The article is written in a way that makes ARMYs and HYBE sound like mastermind hackers who manipulate charts and numbers, where they played the game by the rules, won, and still got shit for it. It's like President Snow giving Katniss shit for rightfully winning the Hunger Games. This is what it is, the Hunger Games of the music industry. Just give Yoongi his Grammy so that they're finally done with the charade of the Western music charts. And we have the boys talking about how they decided to release their latest songs in English, how they weren't so sure of it, how even RM wasn't fond of the idea, but they saw no other option if they wanted to dominate the Western industry, since anything sung in a language other than English is automatically rejected. That and Western racism. This article is not it. It's the worst article ever written about BTS. Not a single question about their music. All it talked about was BTS's country and agency crushing them, their impending enlistment, the lunacy of ARMYs manipulating the charts, and the Billboards basically throwing a temper tantrum because a group of 7 talented and gorgeous Korean men beat them at their own game just because they're Korean. Just give BTS their Grammy so that they're over and done with the Western side of the music industry. BTS are here to stay. They're not going away anytime soon, and they're going to shine brighter in the world of success. Sky is their limit. And for those who don't know them or choose not to know them because of their bigotry, I feel sorry for you. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!